Hello, everybody. This is Justin Letheby, the professor of real estate. And today we are talking about going live with real estate. Here we go. Hey, sorry, I was testing volume. Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Justin Letheby, the professor. And today we are talking video. We are talking about really, I think, some of the key things we need to be thinking about as realtors, as professionals in our industries to go live and or maybe not even go live, but have recorded video. So we're going to talk about five-ish video topics that I think are important to us today as realtors to go forward. And the reason that we're going to talk about this and do this in here is because really one simple thing, and that is simply that when we are doing this and we are trying to grow our business and we're trying to have some effect, content's king. And uh, there's been a couple of stats read out there that essentially over 80% of all consumable content is being done via video. So this is where it's at right here. What we're doing today in the video world is where it's at. And we need to build that video arsenal, that historical information, that retrievable, findable, good information that we have. Um, so I want us to make sure we do video. Now, I want us to make sure we do video for a couple reasons, right? So the reasons that I want us to do video is one, it's the most consumable content out there. Two, it is a way to build that know, like, trust in our industries, right? We have that ability to grow and have people and like us and trust us because they get to see us, they get to understand us, they get to feel who we are, watch our mannerisms, and doing that communication. Um, Only 7% is the actual word spoken. The other stuff is action and our approach and our mannerisms. So it is important to have that video out there. And third, but not least, one of the biggest reasons why I like video is the fact that it is the best reproducible content out there. I can have my video. I can cut it up into shorter segments. You're going to start seeing that more and more from me every week. You can then edit out the audio and build a podcast from that. You can take that podcast and extract the audio from it or even the video, and you can then create blogs or flyers or handouts or whatever, right? So video is extremely important for us to have in our industry and making sure that we are being present for our clients. So the question really becomes in here is, okay, great, but what do I talk about? How do I talk about it? What do we do? Well, today I'm not going to get into the equipment. I'm not going to get into scripting or how to do the video strategies. I just want to get straight in to start talking about some of the things that we can talk about fairly easily in our business. Because the one thing I want you to understand and truly value it and believe in yourself is you actually already have the knowledge. You all are getting questions asked every day. And those questions are important for us to make sure that you can answer them to people. So if you answer the questions that you have, answer them, right? Answer the client, but then write it down to like a little journal and then come here and do videos and talk about that. This is why I did this one. I had people asking me about video. What do I talk about? How do I say what I need to say? And that's what I'm doing. Welcome all people that are coming in through the live streams. I'm not sure where you're all at right now. I am testing a couple new formats out, so I appreciate it. If you do have any questions, you can comment on these and I will get them in the chat box. But I'm using a software called Live Stream or StreamYard that works well. But we can build those videos. So I want to give you, like I said, five-ish topics. We're not going to spend a long time in here because I like believing in quick hitters here. But I do want to make sure that you have some things that you can talk about. And again, you already know this stuff. So I'm just going to kind of hopefully put some triggers in your brain to help you understand that you have the knowledge and you can start writing about it. So first and foremost, uh, one of the things that I think we should be doing is talking about our communities. We are trying to be that real estate commercial community expert in our industry. So let's start talking about that. Go interview local restaurants, local businesses. Go walk around and do park updates. Go talk about and drive around the neighborhoods and the subdivision and talk about the things that you know, how they started, when they started, find out that kind of information. Become that local resource. There was a podcaster back in the day, that would just simply come out there and it simply just had a podcast talking about the events going on in their community, and they grew it, and it's a very large podcast these days. And I always just wondered if they actually had a real estate license, how much business they would get from it, because they are that resource. People go to them for questions. They want to know what's going on. They trust them implicitly. So go in there and be that community expert. Now, it could be the town, the city, it could be as small as a subdivision, whatever you ever want to do, you can do that there. And when you start tying other tools down the road that we'll talk about in upcoming videos, you can start tying the SEO and start building on that. But that is one thing I think we should always be doing, is talking about communities, right? The community that we're in, what we're being in there in that area. So the next biggest thing that I want us to think about and talk about is along those lines of the community is we need to start talking about what's going on in the market, and we need to have upfront, honest conversations with those things, with our clients, with our customers, with our consumers that are out here in those videos. So know your market stats. How much market time is in there? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? What are the strengths and weaknesses in our market? Don't be afraid to start talking about those communities. Even if you wanted to, you could highlight a couple homes that represent some of those strengths, maybe, and or weaknesses in your market. You could give real life example, because all of us like those real life examples. But those trends, those analyses are out there. And again, I'm going to talk about how you can find this data later down the road in future classes. But just as a hint to this, you already have access to tools. You have your MLS that has access to this information. You have local community reports that you can find in there. You also have different, most companies, most offices will also have different access to tools. And we also have RPR, which is a really good resource for a lot of analysis in there. And if you don't know what to say, I'm going to give a hint. I can't help myself. But if you don't even know what to say, if you have all this data and you don't know how to present it, pop it in Chat GPT. It'll help. It'll help tell you, help give you talking points and help you do that. But these analysis videos will help keep it out there. And you can do these weekly, monthly. I probably wouldn't do them daily. They're pretty tough as far as that goes. But those market analysis videos are something that you can use to help become that resident expert. I don't really like the word expert, but that resident resource, right? So don't hesitate to do that. I appreciate you guys here. Um, So that's two. So first one was be that resident, be that community resource. And I want you to be the market stats experts, right? I want you to know that stuff. We got to know it anyways. And it will show your knowledge and strength in your communities. And you're adding that value every day. Now, before I move, well, actually, this ties into tips and guides, which is 3/4. Um, Market stats, seller tips, and buyer's guides. The things I want you to think about with this is there's a very good book out there called Influence by Dr. Cialdini. I call him. They might say Cialdini, but it's Dr. Cialdini, Cialdini. Very good author, very good thing. But he has a book called Influence that has several influential rules, essentially, that help govern how we act on a daily basis and how other people influence our decision making and stuff like that, right? And it's not designed to be a book on how to manipulate someone, because it's got to be authentic, but it does help you understand what things are going on. Well, there's one thing that's always stood out to me in this book, and it's called the rule of reciprocity. And this rule of reciprocity essentially says one simple thing. I'm going to feel like I want to give value of what I've received, right? So if I get a card from you, I want to give a card back. Or if you ask me a question about how my day, I'm going to ask the same thing. It's the polite thing to do, a rule of reciprocity, right? Well, it's not a one for one give and take, right? So when you come in here and you start looking at this, you have different things you can do. Those market stats, that's a give, right? That's a huge value add for your clients. So are things like home selling tips, right? We're trying to get more sellers every day. One of the things that we can do out there is actually very much try to build that resource guide and start giving home selling tips, right? Staging tips, how to prepare your home, what the process looks like in the home selling process. Um, is it a strong seller's market, strong buyer's market? What's the inventory look like? Having these conversations are extremely helpful. All these tips will help you do it. Same thing on the buy side, right? If you're a first time home buyer, what's that process look like? What does it take? What does it take to get a mortgage? What do you do once you make an offer? How long does it take to close, right? You can build these buyer guides and help you give and get really strong value items to your customers, hopefully to be clients. And again, please remember the more you give, the more you're going to get. So they will eventually come out there and start asking you questions and come using you as a resource and come out there and do that. So if you start putting these guides out there, these tips, these video tutorials on how to handle the buying process or the selling process and what that looks like, and coming from your purpose and your vernacular and your conversation, it's gonna work, right? It's gonna help you come out and be that realtor resource. And that's what we're looking to do for you, right? That's what you want to become and want to do. So that's just one of the things I want you guys to understand. So, one, become the community resource. Give value items like market trends, analytics data. I also want you to think about buyers and seller guides and tips and tricks, right? And again, please understand, we think that we don't understand this and we don't know these topics, but we get asked questions all the time. What should I do? Should I fix my roof? Should I read, should I redo my landscape? Should I replace my carpeting? Right? We get asked these questions all the time because we actually know we know the answers, right? But we do have experience on what is and isn't working in our market. So we do have resources to and expertise in these areas to reference from. So you can do that, right? You can help them out. So that's another one that I want you guys to think about. Now, one of my favorites in here, so that's 1 through 4 ish. One of the other things that I actually like in here is what what we don't do much right now, right? So back in the pandemic, a lot of us, when we were doing our business and we're handling what we were doing, we were actually coming out and we were doing virtual tours, virtual open houses, because that's the only way we could get people and we could get eyeballs in homes. For those of us that are in states that couldn't do that, we even had harder challenges with people that could still list homes as essential business. That's how we were doing it. But now we're not in the pandemic anymore, right? Quote unquote. And one of the things that we have stopped doing is the virtual tours. I'm going to tell you, still a great lead generation service and still a good way to do it. I always encourage my agents that I work with to actually come out there and, like, when we're setting an open house, for instance, come out there, get there 30 minutes early. We're usually 30 minutes early anyways. And while you're walking through the house, set up a live stream, a private live stream, right? And make sure you always get permission from your clients because they need to understand what you're doing in writing. That when you are doing this, you will then walk them through the house as you're setting it up and you're getting it ready. They get this VIP experience. That's how I monitor it. Right? It's a VIP open house. So only special people get in, only a couple of people are going to get in at a time, and you can do it. And you could do the same thing at the end when you're closing up shop and getting things out. I don't recommend that one as much because sometimes we need to focus better when we're getting that stuff closed. Always keep in mind when you're doing things like that, especially in live streaming, your focus is elsewhere. So always take specific and very dynamic protection strategies in place to keep yourself safe while you're doing it, like shut and lock the front door while you're going through and setting up the house before you open it up to everybody else. But you can do those things there. So that's another one I like. I still, it's a good one. It's underutilized at this point in time, and you could definitely set yourself out by doing a virtual open house still to this day. Now, one of the big ones that you're going to start seeing in all video industries and all content creation is you're going to start seeing more and more this year of behind the scenes, right? What we used to do about 4 or 5 years ago, the day in the life of a realtor, when people started doing Snapchat stories, stuff like that, has kind of gone on the wayside. But you're starting to see more people doing that. You're starting to see people um, just doing snippets and then tying it together, but doing those day in the life of what you're doing, the grind that you do, how hard you're working, the door knocking, are you doing the phone calls, you're answering. Please always remember, if you're going to show these things, you got to remember the recording rules. There are issues with that all the time. We cannot be recording people that do not know they're being recorded, but and do not give you permission to. But you can come out there and show the walking and door knocking. You can come out there greeting people. You can put music behind the scenes and show them what you're doing and talk about that. And you can give a prologue and a post log of what you did and how that day worked and kind of go through that. Our people want to know that we're out there. They want to know that we're working. They want to know that we're hustling. They want to know that we're doing things for their clients, for your clients, which means when they're your clients, you're going to do the same thing for them, right? They want to see the hustle. They love seeing the hustle. They're inspired by the hustle. So help them out. Give them that hustle. Give them the behind the scenes look of what you're doing, what we used to call the day in the life. Those are coming back. So I believe you're going to see a lot more of those this year. You're going to see a lot more of those in play. I'm seeing other people encouraging agents to do that as well. So that's another one. And the last one in here that I want to talk about, and we're actually doing pretty good. We've actually got this within about the 15 minutes, which is always my kind of goal for this. But the other one that I want us to think about is, because we can't get around it, folks. We just can't. We can't get around the fact that we need to talk about how tech is affecting real estate. So I would talk about the real estate trends and techs that are in there, right? The future of door locks, all the my cues and cameras that are in place, and how that is changing how people live and that kind of stuff, right? And you can always talk about different technologies that help show and display homes in the best light, right? You know, tools like Matterport that are visualization tools, right? So don't be afraid. Now, if you're not a tech person and you're not comfortable with these conversations, then don't do that. But you can always interview someone like myself, and we can walk through that on your video logs and help you do that. So, and again, well, we can come back and talk about that here in a second, but be prepared to have those tech conversations. Let your clients know what they're doing and how they're and let your clients know what they need to be aware of as far as tech goes when they're going out and looking at homes or getting their home set up, and what that is and how it works. And also, what are some of the tech trends coming into homes? Because that matters. There's a lot of new tech every day coming in: security, cameras, smart locks, smart equipment, all sorts of things that are out there. And your clients is a good value add to give it to them. Now, that's what it was today, right? So we talked about community highlights. We talked about the rule of reciprocity, giving things like market updates, buyer seller tips, guides, stuff like that. We talked about the day in the life in there. And we also talked about behind the scenes, right? So these are some things that we should start thinking about as far as real estate professionals. This is what you are going to want to start creating in there in your business. Now, I kind of hinted at it just a few seconds ago, and I backtracked on it, but I want you to think about it this way. So most of you probably aren't going to be real comfortable with video. We don't like the way we look. We don't like the way we sound. We don't like a lot of things about it. So I'm going to answer a couple questions real quick about this. And then we're going to, if you guys have questions, please ask them. I don't know. I don't see any questions being asked, but if you have questions, let me know. But the one thing I want you to think about is this. One, I got told this by a friend a long time ago. There's only one person that doesn't know how we look on video or how we look in general, and that's ourselves, because we don't see ourselves all the time. Everyone we walk to sees us, and they don't go run away screaming and crying. So it's okay. And the same thing with our voice, right? We don't hear our true tenor in our voice. Other people hear our tenor in their voice. And that's how they know us, how they like us. So it's not a big deal. But if it's still an issue for you, then you can do other style of videos, right? You could just do community highlights, and you could, well, I mean, you could use AI to build those audio sequences, or you could have written text that comes through and does it. Like, there's all sorts of creative ways to create those videos. two, if you're not the expert of an area, don't do the video, but or don't be the resource of the video, but it doesn't mean you can't interview for someone doing the video. I interview a lot of folks because they're the ones that are more expertise in that area, right? I will art I will I will interview all sorts of social media experts that know how to get this done in a more efficient way. I will interview video people, cybersecurity people. I will do this stuff. Now I know them, but I got people that know more than I do, and I like to pull that information out. Plus, it brings other viewpoints into the perspective. And then three, the thing I want you to think about, and I don't want you to dismiss this from your head. Someone's already got that video. Someone's already got this. Someone's already done that. Someone's already done this. Okay, that could be true. It absolutely could be true. That content could already exist. It's not in your voice, and it's not in your sphere of people. They haven't heard it yet, and most specifically, they haven't heard it from you. So create the video because they want and need to hear it from you. So with that, folks, that's all I have. I appreciate your time. If you are watching this live, I appreciate all your guys' here and being here and communicating. Trying to go this on a daily basis. Every Friday, I am working very hard to create videos out there. If you are watching this from other channels, this is always live on YouTube. It's on live on other channels, but YouTube always. This is where it's out there at. Please, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell button to get all this notification when we do it, because I will probably do random ones as well. And that's always something I want to make sure you guys are aware of. And if you do ever have questions or things you want me to answer, like I'm not answering them for you, write them in the comments. I review them. I will interact with them. You can always email me too. But make sure, please, that you ask, because those could be potentially the very next topics. Because as I said earlier, we know the questions, or we know that we have the knowledge. We just don't think of it until someone asks us a question. So ask away. With that, go have a great day and have an amazing 2024, and we'll see you next week.